Summer green. Call Judson Irrigation 402-420-6277 or judsonirrigation.com.
Tune in to the Teammates Mentoring Hour each Wednesday from 6 to 7 p.m. on 93.7 The Ticket. Hear stories from a program started by Tom and Nancy Osborne and how it's changed mentors and mentees' lives and how you can be involved. The Teammates Mentoring Hour, Wednesday nights from 6 to 7 p.m. on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Infrastructure, a veteran-owned local company proudly serving Lincoln, Lancaster County, and the surrounding areas. Bauer provides quality work at an affordable price, and they're growing rapidly. If you want to experience a career with a fast-paced, family-friendly environment, visit BauerInfrastructure.com. They have top-of-the-line benefits, year-round work, even through the winter. Bauer, usher in the new era of infrastructure to an area near you. And as always, go Big Red!
You already know that Select Plumbing takes care of all your plumbing needs, including water heaters, faucet repairs, leaks, drips, sump pumps, and more. Now, they're able to help you with your heating and air conditioning as well. Select Plumbing has recently expanded into residential heating and air, and they're excited to bring this new service to their complete list of plumbing services. Call to book an appointment today at 402-560-6197 or go to selectplumbinginc.com, serving Lincoln, Seward, Milford, and the surrounding areas.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com.
On the internet.
KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
Hey guys, it's Bill Bush. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty has opened a new location in Pender, Nebraska, in addition to their office in Lincoln. The real estate world can be confusing, so why wouldn't you want an expert helping you every step of the way? If you're looking to buy or sell farmland in Nebraska, Kansas, or Iowa, give Ethan Sorensen a call today at 402-380-0432 or visit them online at nextagrealestate.com. Next Ag Appraisal and Realty with locations in Lincoln and now Pender, Nebraska.
Hey, baseball fans, join the Blur Tailgate at Hilton Omaha this June for our 12th annual hospitality event during the College Baseball Championship Series. Book an experience for your clients or employees with an inclusive bar, buffet, TVs, music, and tailgate games. Secure your spot today and let Blur Events take care of all the work so you can enjoy the day. Plus, we're just steps away from Charles Schwab Field. Visit blurevents.com to book your group, buy tickets, or learn about sponsorships. That's blurevents.com, your college baseball and football tailgate destination.
Perch Merch is your one-stop shop for all your printing and promotional needs in Lincoln, Nebraska. They specialize in screen printing, embroidery, vehicle wraps, window wraps, print collateral, promotional products, and signage. At Perch Merch, they are committed to delivering high-quality products and exceptional customer service. Their experienced team of designers and printing professionals will work with you every step of the way to ensure that your vision is realized. Call for a quote today at 402-217-5212 or go to perch-merch.com.
Hey there, fellas. It's your girl Jordan with Sartor Heyman Jewelry. Let's talk about versatility today. Unlike flowers that wither and die or chocolates that disappear in a heartbeat, jewelry is the solid move here, guys. Yes, she will cherish it, but more important than anything, she will brag about it and brag about you. And that's what it's all about. Until next time, this is Jordan at Sartor Heyman Jewelry. Happy shopping, guys.
Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits is your place in North Lincoln to go for all your needs in wine, spirits, and beer. They also have a large variety of cigars in their walk-in humidor, and they have a top-notch walk-in, temperature-controlled, high-end wine bar. Plus, you can enjoy free samples from their tasting bar. There's only one place to go for all your needs for wine, beer, spirits, and cigars. Wall to Wall Wine and Spirits on North 27th Street in Lincoln.
Spring often marks the beginning of severe weather, which can lead to power outages. LES wants you to be prepared before the storm. Restock your emergency kit, update your info with LES, and if you encounter an outage, report it at les.com/report.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
It's time to go one-on-one with DP. coming at you live from the Coppel Chevrolet GMC studios. Here is your host, Derek Pearson, brought to you by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome into One-on-One with DP. I am Harrison Barnes, filling in for Derek Pearson, as it'll just be me. And then, of course, we got the guest, the quarterback coach, Barry Thompson, in as well. If you guys want to join in, 402-464-5685. That is the Sartor Heyman text line. And again, you can put a face to the voice on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Allo Channel 961. And like I said, it's going to be me filling in for DP here. But nonetheless, we got Barry Thompson. And quick programming notes, we will have the College World Series taking over at 6:40. But in the meantime, we'll have us on the brick and mortar. Let's go ahead and bring him in. Coach Barry Thompson, how's it going on this Monday night, man?
It's great. It's too good to call. It's great weather. It's getting to be football weather. I'm excited. It's getting to be that time of year.
Absolutely. And I can't help but ask. I noticed you got the Virginia hat on right away. And we do have the College World Series going on. Virginia, they get the tough out. Out of all the teams left in the College World Series right now, which team do you like making their way all the way through it?
Well, I mean, I got the Virginia hat on. I mean, I haven't kept up with the World Series, but actually it's accidental. When my quarterbacks go to college, that's what I get. I get a hat. And so I just decided to pull out the UVA hat today. Tony Muskett is down at UVA. So you'll have to brief me on the World Series.
Absolutely. Well, you can take a wild guess here. It's a lot of ACC and SEC. That's all that's really about left when it comes to baseball. But yeah, we're looking at tonight, Kentucky, Texas A&M. Unfortunately, Virginia was eliminated. They got the double elimination already. So you got North Carolina, Florida State are still in it, Tennessee, Kentucky, Texas A&M. And I'll give it to Virginia because I think Florida State is probably going to go all the way in this one.
You do like them. Okay, now you got me paying attention now. A little too late, but I'm going to check them out tonight.
Absolutely. That being said, though, I do want to go ahead and dive into the quarterback conversation. But before we get there, this is obviously, I've had a few times listening to you and DP, but there's a lot of backstory that I think, especially when DP here, we don't always dive into. So just a little bit back in time, when you get into the coaching world, and then when did you really link up with the Derek Pearson, the guy we know so well here in Lincoln?
Backstory. Well, we went to school together. He was a little bit behind me, and we got separated by 23 years or so. So the first recontact was just an oddity. I had taken the head freshman coaching job at a public school, and I was at the same time as commissioner of a youth club. So the week before this weigh-in on a Saturday, my freshman staff starts to fall apart. There's a guy called me like Tuesday. He said, I'm not coaching. He wouldn't return my phone calls. Then Friday, another guy, we have a processing thing where you have to go through. And so we call it Gatehouse. And he got kicked out of Gatehouse on something minor. So I lost 2 staff guys. And then I have this weigh-in on Saturday. At this school, there's a long hallway. You can kind of enter from opposite sides. So I entered one door, and I'm walking, and I look down the long hallway. And for the first time in about 23 years, I see Derek. And I didn't ask him, hey, what's up, or any of that stuff. I said, what are you doing? And he simply said, what do you need me to do? And I said, I need you to fill out this application because I need you to coach. And he did it, and we started coaching. So that brings us to our years coaching together, football and basketball. And then he has to head off at a certain point to Houston. He coaches down there, and we're, of course, in touch. And then the next thing I know, he's landing in Nebraska and, making a splash there, as John Lewis would say, getting in good trouble. So that's kind of where DP and I kind of hooked up, and that kind of brings us right to Lincoln.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's always interesting. I'm obviously, for a lot of people that know Derek Pearson around here, it's connections. It's pretty amazing how far across the country they can end up. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive straight into it then, because especially now we're kind of rounding up. The UFL season just ended, and I think that's a good place to pick up. You look at a guy like Adrian Martinez, who played for Nebraska, had a really great freshman season, hits a little bit of, you can call it a sophomore slump. You could argue injuries. A lot of that caught up to him, just trying to play through a lot of those. But then he goes to the UFL. He just won the UFL MVP. He just won the championship MVP as well. And the one thing that you always notice about Adrian Martinez is those leadership qualities. How important is that at that quarterback position? And then is that just kind of an intangible, something that's just within you, or is that something that can be taught?
Well, you're skipping a part of his progression. He had an outstanding season at Kansas. And so leaving Nebraska, the thing when he was at Nebraska, he kind of, that those flashes of things that you would see, that little inconsistency. Well, he went to Kansas and he had a good season.
Mm-hmm.
And so then you were starting to see the consistency that you want. The leadership is really born of it. It's a necessary ingredient. And I think there's two levels to it. There's a guy who gets the ball because he's the guy, and that becomes the guy that people kind of want to play with. He's the quarterback, and he's their quarterback, but what takes it to a different level is if that guy becomes the type of guy that players want to play for in very, very tough moments of the game. Now, that person is a lot of things, and most of it is controllable. We say that elite is available. It really, the guys that are elite, they often are not spectacularly different than a lot of people in the category. But what makes them elite is how they, on a daily basis, do the ordinary extra. They're always doing it. They're always doing it. And through that work and through that preparation, guys kind of watch and see that. And to me, that's how that leadership is earned. When you have a guy that you there's no mistaking watching him every day, that he's working harder and smarter than everybody else, and that he is a consistent person. Like what you see in the locker room is what you see on the field. If you're hanging with him, that's the same guy. Then you kind of earn that mantle of leadership. But not everybody fits that mold. Not everybody fits that mold, mainly because a lot of that requires, Harrison, work that a lot of quarterbacks just don't want to do. And that's really the separator for me working with quarterbacks. It's not athletic ability. It's not arm strength. It's not size. It's the guy that is willing to constantly do more than everybody else. And it's just part of his routine. I'm talking a lot, but I'll give you a great example. There was a video not too long ago of Reggie Bush. And what he was catching was Drew Brees in the Dome in New Orleans. It was on a Sunday, and it was about 40 minutes after their practice. And Drew was the only one in there. And he was going through by himself, play by play, progression by progression, his game plan. So you can kind of understand how Drew's the leader of that squad, right? It's doing something that's very ordinary. A lot of quarterbacks will be familiar with, but it's doing the ordinary things extra. He went to the practice, he did the meeting, and then 40 minutes after, he's staying after. Not that he can get it right, he knows it, but that he can never get it wrong. And teammates and coaches notice that, and that's where that mantle of leadership comes from.
Absolutely. And when we talk about that leadership, I'll definitely want to ask about that. What does that look like from a freshman QB as we get later in the show? But since we're still kind of on Adrian Martinez, he's an interesting case because it's not just passing that he's really dialed in. It's his rushing too. Led the UFL in rushing yards as well this season. If you want to be a team that strikes that balance with that quarterback, obviously you don't want to put your quarterback at risk. But at the same time, we've seen the benefits of it when you can figure out holes where you can really attack that defense. What is kind of trying to figure out that fine balance when you look at a guy like Lamar Jackson, what they almost figured out with Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears, the Steelers would probably try to figure it out now as well, but they definitely figured it out with Adrian Martinez. When you're trying to strike that balance between a real dual threat quarterback like we see in Adrian Martinez, what are some of the key elements to that?
Well, at the pro level, eventually you're going to have to play from the pocket, right? You're going to have to, because you have other guys out there getting paid and they deserve the ball too. There comes in the health factor. So what you're talking about, the balance, you just watch it. There's parts of the season where you want to rely a little less on it. And then when you get into more important games or crucial parts of the game, it's just kind of game plan you're willing to risk with a quarterback that runs. We've had a quarterback at Westfield last year who was a good runner, probably one of the best running backs on, well, I don't want to tell anybody, but he was one of the top rushers on the team and he could throw. Well, he was the only guy. So you make a decision early in the season, hey, we can get by without him really running the ball. We'll pick and choose when he runs. But as you get into the playoffs, it's like, okay, what are we waiting for? So it's that type of balance that you strike with athletes like that. The other thing about a quarterback who runs, if they're not designed to run, is you also want to figure out why he's running. If he's running because he missed a read, is he running because he missed a pass protection? Is he running because, he sees ghosts and he's getting out of there? So why a quarterback is running is important too. A mobile quarterback, people kind of think of dual threats, but I always think of Dan Marino as being one of the most mobile quarterbacks that ever played in the NFL. He was able to, in a small spot, move and slide and get the lanes that he needed to throw the ball. So there's a lot of ways you can kind of describe a quote dual threat quarterback.
Yeah, and then I mean, when you look at a guy in Justin's Fields case, or even, I'm going to selfishly go ahead and ask you about Caleb Williams, being the Bears fan that I am.
Okay.
And you look at a guy like Caleb Williams, that's definitely one of the arguments you would hear, especially when he was scrambling, like really good at drawing up some extra time there. But is it a case of missing reads and maybe holding on to the ball a little bit too long? When you look at a guy like Caleb Williams, what are some of those shortcomings we might see when he does get to that NFL stage?
I've only looked at few. So first, Caleb has been dialed in for a long time, right? So he's a guy that's on a mission, and I think he really wants to become great. But when you look at some of his USC film, there are moments where he passes up a layup, and then he struggles around to make a play, and he makes a play, but you kind of think, does he understand the value of taking the layup? Right. And to when you're playing at the upper level, moving the chains is just extremely important. And so you want a quarterback who through time can kind of balance, hey, I'll take this sets that up. Now I'll go for it and take the strike. I think a better comparison, I know you mentioned these guys, but you look at the year that CJ Stroud had, the kid down at Houston, CJ. And there's a couple of videos of him talking about a play. And when you listen to him talk about a play, you realize the amount of time that he's put in to understand everything that's going on around him. And there's this one play that when you see it, it looks like a chance. But when you hear him describe it, he knew exactly what he was doing. He knew exactly what he was seeing. And it wound up being a touchdown, right? And so whether it's Caleb or Justin Fields or whoever it is, they have to get to that level. How they get there, who knows? But they have to get to that level. You guys can look it up online. CJ Stroud just explaining a play, talking you through the play. I mean, he's talking the protection. He's talking personnel, defensive personnel. He's talking about the weakness in the defensive structure. And he's talking about what he has. And then you watch him technically move about 6 inches to get the extra breathing room that he needs to make the throw, and he makes the throw, and he was critical. So when you hear somebody talking like that as a quarterback, you got a good guy. So let's hope Caleb can talk like that soon.
Quarterbacks and the Bears haven't always gone hand in hand, so I hope so. I have to write about those conversations. But Stroud's interesting because he's one of those guys that tested and really, really poor on that cognitive quarterback test that they do. They put these tests out there, try to get an idea on how well they understand that quarterback position IQ. He was the guy that you might dial some red flags on based on that score, but then you look at his rookie season and it's almost like that score completely got it wrong. Well, how much do you actually weigh into that cognitive test they run their quarterbacks through?
Let's think about all the testing they do with athletes. If you think about the language that they use to evaluate quarterbacks or evaluate athletes, most of them, let's say quarterbacks, they evaluate them. That language that they use is not the language that they use when they're talking about good quarterbacks. So just that disparity, you can understand how you're going to miss on a lot of guys. If you watch a combine, I remember a couple of years ago, I forget who the kid was. He was from Liberty. He got drafted by the Titans, but they couldn't stop talking about his lower half. Like how strong his lower half was and how he could just throw the ball and all that stuff. But when you're talking about championship football, talking about great rookie seasons, we're talking about what CJ Stroud can do, how he can explain to you everything. I'm telling you, if you ever sat down with a quarterback like him, you would be astonished that they can take in that much information and process it like that, right? And in order to do that, it takes hours and hours of studying. So having a big lower half doesn't really tell me that this guy's going to show up at the facility at 5 a.m, right, and do that. And they would know that this isn't a new habit with CJ. They would know that this is the type of worker that you just don't show up rookie and they say, hey, come here at 5, leave at 5, and you'll be smart. He's been doing that for years. So anybody that poked into his background, talked to his coaches, they would have known what he showed. Likewise, I'm not picking on the guy with the big lower half. They would know, too, what he didn't know, what he did know, what was his work ethic, what was his, how much football did he know, what kind of decisions did he have. They would know that, too. And so that's part of the reason I think they miss on quarterbacks is the evaluation language is so much different than the championship language, where they talk about not spin rate, not how tall he is, not how athletic he is. They talk about his accuracy. They talk about his ability to find receivers. They talk about his ability in 2-minute drive. They talk about how he opens the third quarter. They talk about how he seems to come up with plays at the right time, how he comes up with first downs when they need it. They talk about that, but they don't talk about that when you're evaluating.
Yeah, and I think those are important things to remember, because if you were to just go strictly off that, a lot of people would have been dead wrong about
Yes.
Stroud and the incredible season he just put together with the Houston Texans. And you look at the Houston Texans too, and that franchise as a whole just looks like it's starting to click from the head coach all the way down to the position. You can go all the way to the top to management. It's a group that seems finally aligned with what they're trying to do. And then you go look at a team like the Carolina Panthers, rumors about maybe even relocating altogether. When you look at a quarterback like Bryce Young, how hard is it to judge a guy when particularly the situation around him isn't really great? It's almost hard for me to really gauge Bryce Young's success simply for the turmoil that's been around him the day he got in through the doors.
Yeah, there's that. So let's go to CJ really quickly. If you remember, the Houston Texans as an organization, they were struggling too, right? They had O'Brien. And so it seems to me that just my cursory look at the NFL, that a quarterback who is identified as the quarterback has a purification effect on the whole organization. And suddenly they all start making great decisions. All of a sudden it's a great general manager picked them. You look at Detroit Lions, right?
Yeah, it's a great
for
example.
them, they got Jared Goff and who some people had something to say about, but when they got him, all of a sudden every decision they made from a personal standpoint, cap standpoint, seemed to work. And that seems to be the modus operandi in the NFL, that when people identify that person, the whole organization gets smarter. Now, you look at Carolina, why hasn't Carolina gotten smarter? Well, it may be not that Bryce isn't, but it may be that organization hasn't come together and saying this is our guy. And so then you have a lot of tension. So it also points out the fact that the quarterback's success is sometimes dependent on luck, being in the right situation, right, with the right people, and there goes your career.
Yeah, definitely. You can definitely argue luck. Again, I'll keep bringing up that I was a Bears fan. A lot of those situations were tough at times, trying to figure out, is this the right guy? Is it the head coach? Is it the system around him? What's going on? Because then you look at a guy like Justin Fields, and this will tie in what I want to talk about on our next segments as well, because you're hearing reports as well with the Steelers. With Justin Fields, it felt like they got it figured out for a little bit, talking about that balance of being a dual threat quarterback, but the accuracy issues have stayed pretty consistent with him. And now you're hearing those come out of Pittsburgh again. When you're talking about a quarterback with quote unquote accuracy issues, as a quarterback coach, what are those things that you're really attacking first to figure out how bad or good that actually really is?
Yeah.
And then dialing in on how to tweak that, try to bump up those numbers, which he has been, but it's only been about 1-2% a year.
Right. Well, at the NFL, when they talk about accuracy, it's two different things. It's not necessarily like there's a guy in the out and I throw the ball 5 yards over his head. Sometimes in the NFL, when they're talking about accuracy, it is I'm running it out and I want the ball placed here. And then for some reason, the guy's placing it back here where the trailing linebacker is, right? And that the NFL standard is that I can consistently throw the ball here. So sometimes when they're talking about accuracy, that's what they're talking about. Now, mechanics, you had another quarterback that came in the league that was not a highly accurate quarterback, Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
And Josh went off and got that straightened out. So I think there's enough people out there who can teach mechanics to quarterback that if that was an issue and Justin was serious about getting it fixed, he would go see him and get it fixed.
Yeah, Josh Allen, he's kind of the one stat that always really pops out, when it comes to fixing that accuracy issue, at least the ways you're describing it. Looking at a guy like Justin Fields and a lot of those other quarterbacks out there, is it just something as simple as, like you're saying, is really just trying to dial in where that ball needs to go? Because I'd imagine most quarterbacks, when you get to that NFL level, they got the arm talent to do it. But why is it that Josh Allen seems like such a, quote, unicorn case where it becomes really difficult for those quarterbacks to tweak those mechanics? How much of that is just
not really. There's some of them learn on the fly. Aaron Rodgers, if you go back and look at how he threw the ball, and then as he got in the NFL, he learned differently about how to throw the football, right? So you look at even Joe Burrows has kind of tightened up what he does, and I thought he was pretty good. And there, so I think it's just a matter of accuracy is the issue. Then I want to get in his business, but there's a way to fix that, right? There's a way to see somebody who teaches these things, and you go to work on it, and you get it better. Like that's a simple thing.
Yeah.
And then
Absolutely.
so he just, I don't know why accuracy is still an issue, or why he would allow that still to be an issue.
Yeah, it's the one thing for, at least in Fields' case, I use him as an example because it's simply an argument that if there's quote unquote one thing that's really stopping him, that's the argument you're going to hear the most, is the accuracy issues. Because what he is as an athlete, I mean, there's no question you're going to be hard. That at that athletic level, there's a few out there you can shout out. But it'll be interesting to see what Fields. Obviously, you got Russell Wilson at the Steelers now too. He'll probably be the starter. Maybe Fields gets the shot. Before we go to break here, I got one more NFL, and then on the next segment, I do want to dive into the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Okay.
Trevor Lawrence gets a large sum of money from the Jacksonville Jaguars, despite putting up kind of one of his worst seasons since getting in there with a pretty bad touchdown interception ratio.
Right.
Any surprises with the Jaguars, really doubling down on Trevor Lawrence being one of the higher paid quarterbacks, despite the numbers, still kind of believing what he did maybe down in Clemson. Another one of those guys got entered the door, a lot of turmoil when he first got there. Any surprises with Trevor Lawrence?
No, I think he got better. I think, what you mentioned, that turmoil, a lot of quarterbacks don't recover from that. And it seems like he's kind of recovered from that, and he's standing up a little bit. The organization obviously wants him. He's their bell cow, right? So that brings in the tickets. Now it's just a question of, he's got his money, but what is the organization going to do to continue to put things around him to help him be successful? All quarterbacks are not good at all things. They like certain things. They do certain things well. And when you see a really successful quarterback, that is a quarterback doing the thing that he does well the most. They didn't ask Tom Brady to run quarterback power read, and famously when they put him outside the pocket for a trick play, we can kind of laugh because it's Tom Brady, but it looked horrible, right? It's just not what he does. So why would you ever ask him to do that? And a lot of these situations, quarterbacks are asked to do things that they're not really good at. And there you go. There goes the results.
Yeah. And another important thing to remember when you're looking at those numbers, half the time you wait any longer, the number is only going to be bigger. So that's always another part of it, where if you're going to hold your weight to pull the trigger, that number might even be bigger by the time you finally decide to sign him. With that being said, though, we'll throw it to break. On the other side, I do want to dive into Dylan Raiola, kind of the pressures of being a 5-star quarterback, being a freshman in that role, and really what does it look like to lead a team at not only a young position, but as a true freshman heading in as a 5-star with all the highlights on you. So don't go anywhere. We'll keep it rolling here. We got Coach Thompson, Fairfax Football Academy. Harrison Arns taking over for DP. We'll talk to you guys on the other side.
Watch live on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. You're listening to One-on-One with DP on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Shopping for new flooring is different today. Getting your questions answered, making the right selection, getting the best value, and installed quickly and professionally. Visit OStreetCarpet.com or shop our store. We'll answer all your questions and help you make the right choice. You'll be enjoying your new floor in just days for less than you'd pay elsewhere. Carpet, vinyl, wood, laminate, tile, and area rugs. We've got it all.
O Street Carpet.
1732 O Street. Family owned and operated. Always the best value.
In a world where businesses are facing daily cyber threats, you need protection like never before. Don't let hackers and malware companies compromise your business success. Stay ahead of data breaches with Hamilton Cybersecurity. Let Hamilton provide you with peace of mind that your business is protected. Our experts identify and mitigate risks before they become disasters. As your trusted partner, we help you protect your valuable information. Hire your local cybersecurity experts. Hire Hamilton at hamiltonisbusiness.com.
Rashawn Jackson here for Bauer Infrastructure, a veteran-owned local company proudly serving Lincoln, Lancaster County, and the surrounding areas. Bauer provides quality work at an affordable price, and they're growing rapidly. If you want to experience a career with a fast-paced, family-friendly environment, visit BauerInfrastructure.com. They have top-of-the-line benefits, year-round work, even through the winter. Bauer, usher in the new era of infrastructure to an area near you. And as always, go Big Red!
You can help fight deadly diseases like RSV and influenza while getting paid for your time. Velocity Clinical Research is now seeking clinical trial participants in your area. Participants can receive compensation for study-related time. No health insurance is needed to join. Find a study near you at velocitytrials.com. That's velocitytrials.com.
Husker fan, the 2024 Nebraska football season is right around the corner, and they need your support in Memorial Stadium this fall. You can now purchase a Husker football 3-game mini plan for only $170. This plan includes tickets to the UTEP or Northern Iowa, plus Illinois or Rutgers, and either UCLA or Wisconsin games. Tickets are only available while supplies last. To purchase your Husker football 3-game mini plan today, or for more information, visit huskers.com/tickets. Go Big Red.
John Henry's has a brand new membership club to protect your entire home in one program. With a VIP and a deluxe option, we will help you find the plan that best fits your needs. Receive discounts on services and equipment, priority service, complimentary inspections, and so much more. Protect your home's plumbing, heating, cooling, and electrical systems all in one membership. Call John Henry's to learn more.
435-5555. John Henry's Plumbing, Heating and Air.
And electrical.
Are you looking to get into the electrical construction industry or wanting a new scene? The Electrical Workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
Hey, Nebraska! Register today for the 40th annual Cornhusker State Games, taking place July 11th through the 21st in Lincoln, Omaha, and other Nebraska communities. The Cornhusker State Games features 70 sports for athletes of all ages and abilities. Price increases are approaching, so register early and save. For details, go to cornhuskerstategames.com. Advocating for physicians in the health of all Nebraskans, Nebraska Medical Association, a proud platinum partner of the Cornhusker State Games.
Perch Merch is your one-stop shop for all your printing and promotional needs in Lincoln, Nebraska. They specialize in screen printing, embroidery, vehicle wraps, window wraps, print collateral, promotional products, and signage. At Perch Merch, they are committed to delivering high-quality products and exceptional customer service. Their experienced team of designers and printing professionals will work with you every step of the way to ensure that your vision is realized. Call for a quote today at 402-217-5212 or go to perch-merch.com.
Problem gambling can destroy an individual's finances, relationships, physical, and mental health. If you are a loved one or struggling with addiction, contact Choices Treatment Center's 24-hour helpline at 402-476-2300. That's 402-476-2300.
By now, most of you know how important the Honda of Lincoln sales and service team are to the Lincoln market. Hello, Charlie Stone here, and joining me is Andy Goodyear from Honda of Lincoln to tell you about the great news they just received. Andy, please tell us all about it.
Each year, the Lincoln Journal-Star has an award program called the Lincoln Choice Award, where the customers in Lincoln get to choose the best places to do business. Great pleasure, I get to announce that Honda of Lincoln has won the award for buying new cars, used cars, automotive repair, and even oil changes.
That is amazing, Andy. Any more good news?
Yes, there is, Charlie. We now have more than 100 new Hondas in stock, with hundreds on the way, and a huge selection of all makes and models on our pre-owned lot.
Incredible. Maybe it's time you come experience the Honda of Lincoln way of doing business. 27th and Yankee Hill Road, or online at hondaoflincoln.com.
You're listening to One-on-One with DP, brought to you by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back into Ticket Weeknights. This is one-on-one with DP, but I'm filling in for DP. It's Harrison Arns, only ones and twos. We got the guest streaming in, Barry Thompson, the quarterback coach, Fairfax Football Academy, joining us as well. And like I said, if you guys want to join in, last-second comments, 402-464-5685. We will have the College World Series on at 6:40 here. It'll switch over. But again, you can stay plugged in with the shows. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Allo, channel 961. I mentioned on the last segment, we got a true freshman quarterback, Dylan Raiola. Yes, he has not been named the starter. It could be, Harburg, could be Kalen, but let's just, for the sake of our imagination, let's assume it's going to be Dylan Raiola. That's
Right.
projected. When it comes to being a true freshman quarterback, you look at a lot of the guys that have done it in the past. It could be incredibly successful. It could be a Caleb Williams, where he throws for 21 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, averages over 150 QB rating, or it could be Kyler Murray, a little less than 5 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, with a QB rating of just about 109. What is the real expectations you can put on a true freshman quarterback who's coming in a program that hasn't been to a bowl game since 2016?
Right.
What are some realistic expectations we can put on Raiola if he does happen to start for the Huskers this year?
The expectations should be moderated by how good the defense is and how strong the run game is. That's what you want. You don't want, ideally, to put everything onto a freshman quarterback. He's going to make some mistakes. There's going to be some situations. It's just part of the learning process. If you have a good defense and you can run the ball a little bit, that's going to help him out a lot. And what you're really looking at him is a thing that I call PACE, P-A-C-E, play after critical error. So after a mistake is made and he gets the ball back again, who is he, right? Is he the same quarterback that wants to take that? That's something that you want to see out of a young guy. It's really important. Can he bounce back when there's been a critical mistake made? When you have that element along with his talent and you're surrounding him with an environment that doesn't ask him to do too much, you get a chance to see how good he actually can be, versus when we're talking about Carolina with Bryce Young, right, where you have all this dislocation and the offense seems to be running one direction, another direction. It seems like you get a feel from a distance that there is a solid plan to have a good defense, a running game. Linemen, I think, the line has changed a little bit. So that was some unsexy stuff that was done probably in the first year, right? Everybody's wondering what, but now it seems like part of the plan. So you're getting hints that that this quarterback situation is beginning to galvanize the thinking about how this is done, and maybe credit Coach Rule with a little bit of a reverse engineering. You understand that he knew that he had to get these things in place and then go out and get a quarterback. And luckily that you guys landed with Raiola.
Yeah, absolutely. Try to, take a deep breath there, because if you like the Tony White defense and you like the run game from last year, expectations might be, reasonably see some success down the road. Because with Tony White, you look at that defense, what they did last year, that system, you got a bunch of guys that might seem awkward in other spots, but you look at a Javen Wright in that linebacker position, looks like a great fit, and that whole defense is really clicking. And then you put that along with Nebraska actually leading the Big Ten through a big chunk of that second half of the season and rushing.
Right.
There's a lot of signs to be optimistic, but like you said, obviously expect some learning curves down the road. For a true freshman QB, what are those learning curves you're talking about? What are those things that from the high school to the college level, those are the first things that are going to stick out and you have to get over if you're going to be successful at the D1 Power 5 level?
Yeah. Well, it's not really ability. They wouldn't have recruited him if he didn't have the ability. It's just his increased knowledge of the situations that he's in. I've had a true freshman, Tony Muskett. He started as a true freshman at Monmouth and wound up being a freshman All-American. And, he kind of pushed aside an upperclassman. And when I talked to him, I said, Tony, how did this happen? Because it doesn't happen that much, let alone go off and be a freshman All-American. He just talked about the volume of time that he spent with his playbook and the time that he spent with defensive coordinators to really immerse himself in what he was going to have to do. The ability isn't the issue. You're not going to be recruited to a Power 5 program or a Group of 5 program if you don't have the ability. It's the other things. So he has, he's a coach's son, if I'm not mistaken. He's trained by one of the best quarterback trainers in the United States. So he's got to have a kind of a wealth of information about how to handle situations. And then the only thing is for him to go out and experience that. So I think he's got a lot of guidance not to get off the rails or not get distracted by all the things that can come your way by winning a game or winning two or being a 5-star. I would imagine that he's kind of over that. And he's probably focused on the next thing, which is, can we go out and have a good season? And I think with the things around him, as long as you're not asking him to do too much, because he has a creative streak. You seen his tape? He has a and it's fine. One of the wise coaches said, "I'd rather calm a jackass than raise a corpse." So you don't mind that stuff, but there's times when he's going to have to learn to put that in a box, right? It's great to have a spectacular play, but then you could have a spectacular miss too, which brings me back to my point. I think the central thing for him, as you watch him, if you're really a fan of him, if you believe in the future of Nebraska football and he's a guy, is you're just going to watch when he does make a mistake, how does he respond? How does the team respond? I had a quarterback one time his senior year, he was a nationally ranked quarterback, and it was an opener. He was jacked up, and the first pass he threw a pick six. I think it's probably one of 2 pick sixes he threw in his life. First play of the game, opens up, throws a pick six. Well, we get the ball back. The next possession, he takes the team down and scores, right? He was like, okay, that's gone. Now we're going to go even this thing up. That's the type of thing that you want to see out of quarterbacks.
Absolutely. Look for that quick response. So obviously we're talking about Dylan Rayall, the true freshman QB, who's likely probably step in that starting role when we start the football season. One thing that happened this offseason was we took some of the weight off Satterfield. We bring in a quarterback coach, Glenn Thomas. He takes off some of that load to work with the quarterbacks. Maybe you can even credit some of Harburg. He looked a lot cleaned up in that spring game, a lot of his mechanics. When you're looking at QB coaches, obviously not everybody has one. What's your take on that for getting a QB coach? Is it purely just by the school and what they have there available? And in Nebraska's case, you see a guy like Glenn Thomas come in there, take some of the offensive load off Satterfield so he can work more with the tight ends. And your experience, is it really important having a QB coach there, or can you get by without one?
I think it's important that the quarterbacks are coached just like every other position on the field. I think it's really important. So whoever does it, I think it's important. And what you're trying to do, my wife, I think there's an academic term called an IUP. Are you familiar with that?
Yep.
Is it IUP or IUP?
I believe it's IUP, yes.
IUP, okay. And I've heard the term, and then she's a former teacher, and she explained to me what it actually is, which is you try to find out how a person learns, and then you wrap the educational program around how they learn. Quarterbacks or good quarterback coaches, I think, essentially do the same thing, right? You're trying to figure out how a guy processes information, what he's good at, right? And then you educate him in that fashion, right, to make him better at the things that he's good at. And you try to work on his weaknesses. So no matter who does that, the quarterback needs that, just like the defensive back needs it, just like the line, the tackle needs it, just like the safeties need it, the kickers need it. It's just helpful because you're constantly looking from his viewpoint. How do you see the field? How do you prepare? What is the coverage we're going to see here? What things to look at, the hints of coverage. If we're here, if we see this type of, if we see 33 double cloud, what do we want to do in this situation? What are we thinking? Here's the plays getting in. And then you take the feedback from, hey, what plays do you like this week? I like this play, right? And that develops the trust with it. So quarterbacks need that just as much as any other guy on the field. So can you get by with it? Yes. But can you get by without an O-line coach? You could, but you don't want to try
it. Yeah, definitely not in that position, especially now that I've said this about Nebraska all the time. We've a little bit of a tangent here. We've always complained about the lack of consistency with the offensive line coach. And it's like, well, look at the offensive line head coach. There's been no consistency there. Why would we expect anything consistent on the field? But yeah, it's interesting, especially when you get 2 Elite 11 QBs in the room. It makes sense. Let's make sure we got a guy that's got on top of the development, make sure we can actually work this thing out, that even worst case scenario, somebody gets hurt, we have enough development behind the scenes where we can still comfortable enough going out there and winning football games. And I'll ask you one last question. When it comes to the turnover games for quarterbacks, how much of that is in the mind? Because here at Nebraska, unfortunately, it seems like a lot of it's mental, where these guys, like you said, they're at that level. They wouldn't be there if they didn't have the talent to be there.
Right.
But man, turnovers have plagued this university for a long time, not just at the quarterback position, running back position. How much of that is the head game, and how do you get guys out of that mode?
Well, I think that's a team thing. There's coaches as head coaches. I'm not putting anything on Coach Rule, but I was told by very wise guys, a head coach, it's really wise to figure out one thing that you want to hammer home to the team. That is just whatever it is. And I was around the coach here at high school, and his thing was fumbling. Like, we're not fumbling the football, right? We're not fumbling the football. And it wasn't that talk, but there was a constant working on ball security.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of echoes to the quarterbacks, right? That we're taking care of the ball. That also comes in and helping the quarterback understand where to start on plays. A lot of times the things used, well, he reads the defense really well. You don't have time to read the defense. You don't. And what you have to understand is that these are little flashes of information that, like, a blink here, a blink there, and then you've got what you want. You have a picture in your head, and you know exactly where to start based on those 3 blinks, right? You're just looking. There's a safety alignment. There's a corner alignment. You got there. The back is scripting up. I got my protection. I'm in, right? It's that fast that they have to process and be accurate in what they're seeing. And then based on that, they kind of figure out where to start. Here, I'm going to start here. This guy goes this way. Here's my completion. Or that safety, I'm going to hold him for a second to give me room to get over here. Those things are the things that are really important. You got about 1.5 seconds if you're under center to kind of process that first decision, 1.6. You got another 0.2 to get out of your hand. And then if you're going to a second progression, if you can get it, you got another 0.3 to get to it. So you really have to understand what's going on.
Yeah, and with that being said, we'll have to throw it to our next break here, and we got a few people from the text line, a couple unknown texters. Yes, we are now switched over. We got the College World Series on, so if you want to continue the show, as the numbers indicate, we got quite a few of you guys left here: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and of course, Allo Channel 961. We still got Barry Thompson, Fairfax Football Academy quarterback coach, with us. So don't go anywhere. We'll keep it rolling here. One more segment, one-on-one with DP.
Hey kids, what are you getting your ever-loving dad for Father's Day?
I know, a motorized monster. Taylor Swift album. You would love it.
Yeah. How about something from Osted's Golf? Name brand apparel up to 50% off. Strixon balls at crazy deals. And dads always love an Osted's gift card.
You have been putting a lot of balls in the water.
Not after my custom fitting. I'm smashing everything.
You could do that with a monster truck.
Shop Osted's Golf for Father's Day.
The Osted family would really appreciate it.
Hi, my name is Molly Party. I'm a realtor with MP Dodge Real Estate. I'm a newly licensed agent and considered numerous brokerages before deciding on MP Dodge. I chose the company that gives me the most support in my new career, plus guidance and encouragement along the way. MP Dodge has a unique mentoring program for new agents. It's helped jumpstart my career and has a supportive management team and administrative staff. So if you're contemplating a career in real estate, look no further than MP Dodge. It will be the best decision you make.
By now, most of you know how important the Honda of Lincoln sales and service team are to the Lincoln market. Hello, Charlie Stone here, and joining me is Andy Goodyear from Honda of Lincoln to tell you about the great news they just received. Andy, please tell us all about it.
Each year, the Lincoln Journal-Star has an award program called the Lincoln Choice Award, where the customers in Lincoln get to choose the best places to do business. Great pleasure, I get to announce that Honda of Lincoln has won the award for buying new cars, used cars, automotive repair, and even oil changes.
That is amazing, Andy. Any more good news?
Yes, there is, Charlie. We now have more than 100 new Hondas in stock, with hundreds on the way, and a huge selection of all makes and models on our pre-owned lot.
Incredible. Maybe it's time you come experience the Honda of Lincoln way of doing business. 27th and Yankee Hill Road, or online at hondaoflincoln.com.
The 31st Annual Testicle Festival, Saturday, June 15th at Round the Bend Steakhouse, just off I-80, exit 426. Swing out 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. for music, fireworks, and, of course, nuts. Visit roundthebendsteakhouse.com for more.
Load up on meat and more this summer at the Mercado by Certified Piedmontese at 84th and Haviland. This week's special through June 11th is buy 3 ribeyes, get 1 ribeye free. Also, $1 off all brands of crackers. Locations at 84th and Havelock and 30th and Yankee Hill in Lincoln, or 168th and Maple in Omaha. Get to the Mercado today for the best meat in town. For over 15 years, Integrated Life Choices has empowered individuals with disabilities in Lincoln and throughout Nebraska. They provide comprehensive services from group homes and independent living services to job training, ensuring fulfilling lives for those that they serve. Now, they're inviting you to join their mission. If you're passionate about making a difference in the lives of people with developmental disabilities, explore rewarding career opportunities with them. Learn more about their services and apply today at www.ilc.net. Be a part of Integrated Life Choices, where your work truly changes lives. You don't think about your roof very often, but you should never take it for granted. Roofing Service Company takes every measure to provide you with the highest quality roofing solution. Whether it's a new roof installation, roof repair, or a re-roofing project, their overall goal is to provide you with a pleasant experience and a long-lasting roof. If you have a need for siding or gutters, they're your place too. Visit roofingservicecompany.com for more info today.
Keep summer green with Judson Bylene and Judson Irrigation. More than 40 years ago, Judson Irrigation started taking in orphans. Lawn sprinkler systems installed by a quickie, cheapy summer job, install 'em and forget 'em outfit long forgotten. Call Judson Irrigation. They'll never forget you.
Keep summer green. Call Judson Irrigation 402-420-6277 or judsonirrigation.com.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the K&TK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeit. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Hope is only a conversation away when you choose to share your talent, time, and heart with a child. Together, you can build a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future, 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
Constructors is now hiring for all positions, with laborers starting at $23 and up based on experience. Constructors has immediate job openings for laborers, mechanics, bridge builders, operators, and drivers. Start your new career today. Constructors offers great pay, health, dental, and vision insurance, paid time off, paid holidays, and so much more. Join the crew today and be a part of Nebraska's oldest paving company dating back to 1908. For a complete list of openings and to apply online, visit constructorslincoln.com.
Network Partners in Lincoln reminds us throughout the history of our country, our armed forces have risked their lives to protect our freedom. They and their families have sacrificed so we can live in peace, and not just us, but our children and grandchildren as well. Let's thank our troops and veterans and keep them in our prayers. May our troops be safe and may God bless America. This from Network Partners in Lincoln. We live in the land of the free, thanks to the brave.
You're listening to One-on-One with DP, sponsored by Mary Ellen's Food for the Soul on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in to One-on-One with DP, but it's not DP. Harrison Arns filling in for Derek Pearson while he's out at the College World Series, and we'll be out there again. Blur events on Wednesday. If you guys want to check it out, it's always a great service and a great time. You'll get to see some of the teams on their way into the stadium, and they're there all the way until midnight. So definitely check it out if you get time to do so. But as we wrap this up, again, we got Barry Thompson, Fairfax Academy quarterback coach. I want to talk into the draft. We talked about quarterbacks, how it's a little bit more of a difficult position to try to figure out. You look at positions like the running back, linebacker, really positions that are just based off a lot of athleticism, a lot easier to get when you get out of running back. Quarterbacks, what is it about quarterbacks that makes it damn near impossible to draft? Even if you're a quote unquote expert, it's something the best get wrong all the time.
Well, I think that I'm going to push back a little bit. I think the best get it right. There just aren't that many guys that are the best.
Okay.
You know, and it's few. And the reason I think that is the case is because you have to have an understanding of what you're looking for. Like I said, they come in all shapes and sizes and packages. So what is it that you're looking for? And then if you do see it, are you smart enough to recognize it? I'll take you back a little ways. There was a guy named Ryan who was a backup for the Green Bay Packers. And Brett Favre had missed the games. And this guy came in, he looked just like Brett Favre. And Favre came back, and it was his contract year. And everybody was so impressed with him that Seattle outbidded people and gave him a ton of money. That same year, they drafted Russell Wilson. As they get into camp, this is about a year after giving this guy a lot of money, they get into camp and they realize this is what we want. And it was Russell Wilson. And then everything galvanized. You go back to Brady's thing. Drew Bledsoe had a big contract.
Mm-hmm.
He was the guy. And he gets hurt. They get Brady in there and they go, no, this is the guy. Right? So it's not only getting the guy, it's a recognition that this is the guy and that we start doing things around it. So I think it's compounded. One is the evaluation language isn't the same as the champion language. Two, you have to have an understanding of what it is that you want the quarterback to be able to do. And then three, you have to have an environment for him so he can be successful. They're jumping back to Dylan. It looks like they're setting up things around him that he's going to have a chance to be really successful and help the team. Go to CJ Stroud. We talked about it earlier, right? It was tailor-made for a guy that was that bright to come in and do well because of the pieces that were around him. He cannot do it by himself, which brings you to the draft. The draft is the reward of being the number one player in the draft or a top pick is you're going to a bad team. But we've seen bad teams kind of turn things around. The Bengals weren't very good for a long time, but they get Burrows. They recognize what they have. They start making decisions, and there they go. You go back to the Colts before they had Peyton Manning. They were, Jim Moore, playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody remembers that, right? And then they get Peyton. All of a sudden, Tom Moore's a genius, and Tony Dungy's a genius, and Bob Smith, you know what I mean? And so there's an element of luck, but you can look at some kind of consistent things that happen to make them successful. I just don't know that you can always control them.
Absolutely. You definitely see that. And yeah, I'll accept that pushback. There's definitely guys that are, when we say expert, they're maybe not saying this is going to be the next Tom Brady, but out of the guys here, he's probably going to give you your best shot at it. Now, with that being said, as we're kind of wrapping things up here, you mentioned situations, and this is the last one I'll have for you.
Yeah.
Situations with a quarterback, and they get a young guy in there as well. You look at a team like the Atlanta Falcons, they pay a bunch of money to Kirk Cousins after a pretty brutal injury, and then they go ahead and get Michael Penix Jr. anyways. When you see a move like that, does that give you a little bit of reconsideration on how they feel about Cousins, or what do you read about
this is an idiom that may slip past half your audience, but to me, that's a belt and suspender move. I have to explain to people, the belt is meant to hold up your pants. So the suspenders. So you've got a belt with, say Cousins, and then you get some suspenders, a little more flashy with Penix. And ideally, it works out. He's bought a little time to sit, right, and to learn and to guide whatever they think his deficiencies are. They got a little bit of time to teach him the game, how it works and operates. So that's how that goes. And then if something happens to Cousins, he's going to be the future anyway. So I think that's really a belt and suspender move. Lucky they have the cap space to do it. Then what you want to see down the line, do they have enough money left to put something around Penix or even Cousins? Because he's a professional quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
You give him the right tools, he can get you a win on Sundays. So do they have the cap room to put the other things around them rather than just say, hey, we got this shiny new toy? And before we go, I want to give two shout outs.
Absolutely.
Last time. I understand a lot of people listen to these things when they're driving. I got two drivers up in Cumberland, Maryland, Coach Bender and Coach O'Neill, who spent a lot of time on the road and doing deliveries in Coach O'Neill's case. And they told me that they listen. So I want to give a shout out to all the people that have to drive a lot for their jobs.
Absolutely. Yeah, we always appreciate you guys listening in, and especially with the one-on-one DP slate that we have now. Barry Thompson, you're a part of it, but as DP brings in, like you said, you get the full lineage of everybody DP's met, a lot of great people, a lot of you guys kind of crossing in some of those same circles. So always really cool stuff. And I'm with you when it comes to the quarterbacks. I'm going to keep mentioning it. Unfortunately, like I said, being a Bears fan, you see that two quarterback situation work really well over and over, and we're in the midst of it. Looks like with Jordan Love here again. But nonetheless, we'll wrap it up. Barry Thompson, I appreciate the time. On time as always. This has been One-on with DP. Harrison Arns on the 1s and 2s, but don't go anywhere. Don't punt hour up next. We'll talk to you in a little bit.
All right. Peace out.